Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. I'm here with Bill Willingham, famous comic book creator. How you doing, Bill? So good to see you.
I'm doing well. It's good to be seen. Usually, I don't show up on film, so this is nice. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, thank you for coming. You are one of my Grail guests. You are perhaps my biggest comic book influence. I'm gushing, and I'm gonna be a total fanboy throughout this. I apologize in advance, but man, I've been a fan of yours since these two books over here. I had to, you know, I I'm sure you don't remember, but I met you at the Rockville Center Comic Book Con back when you were drawing Elementals. I was probably an annoying kid that bothered you too much while you were drawing, and I just didn't take the hint. I probably hung out too long.
Well, I would love to remember the one annoying kid who bothered me back when, but I can't. So
Yeah. I
you're forgiven for all past crimes, though.
yeah. I For those of you who don't know, these are Villains and Vigilantes supplement books. They're called modules. Bill wrote and drew these, and you can see how worn they are. I flipped through these. I've traced Doctor Apocalypse over and over and over again. I've always loved your art style. I've grown to love you. You've become one of my favorite writers. You always were one of my favorite artists, and this these two modules basically I still play Villains and Vigilantes. I just played last week with my buddies, and would love to do a story. 40 years of playing that is as good as these two modules. It's just so much fun.
I don't think I'll ever forgive TSR for designating that their adventures supplements would be called modules.
Yeah,
I guess that was a very modern term at the time. It meant modular this, and you add to the original rules by plugging in modules. But I hate that term.
yeah,
Their V&V adventures is what we called them. I don't think you'll find the word module anywhere in those
yeah.
publications.
It is a clumsy word that doesn't really describe what it is, right?
Yeah.
Module. Yeah, it's a hokey word. Uh, a couple of years ago, I think around 2012 or so, you went to a Gary Con and you GM'd a game of Villains Vigilantes, and oh my,
Yes.
I just missed going. I was so mad I couldn't get off work, and so I went the following year, and unfortunately, you and Jeff didn't go. But I was so glad I got to meet a whole bunch of people that I've been talking to online. But man, I was so upset that I missed you at playing a game of V&V with you.
Yeah, I think we did uh, an entire V&V campaign in 4 days, where there were 2 sessions a day, and so every player character started off as first level and was 8th level by the time the campaign ended, which
Oh,
was, I will never do it again. I was exhausted by the end of it, and I never got to do anything else fun at Gary Con because of that. But it was fun to do once.
man, I that's they say if you have a time machine, that's one of the things I would have fixed. That sounded like so much, because all the guys that played with you, I used to run a Villains Vigilantes forum, and they would post, and they were writing updates, and I'm sitting at home going, oh man,
Yeah.
it was so much fun. But I gotta ask, do you still play role playing games?
Not often. I live pretty remote from everyone I know. There's of my friends, which I hope number many, uh, only two of them live close enough to where I get to see them from time to time in person. Um, and both of those guys are pretty busy as I am, so not too often.
I as a kid, I used to drive up or ride my bike up to Waterloo in New York. I think it was Roslyn, New York, and
Yep.
Jack Berman with it. Were you ever there? Were you
Oh
ever?
yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you were there. So I always wonder if I ever, man, you would have seen a real annoying kid back then, you know. But that was like the mecca. It was the first and only hobby shop that I knew about as a kid, and it turned out to be the home of this game that I still love. Yeah,
There was a Waterloo in Roslyn, New York, where the headquarters of Fantasy Games Unlimited was, the publisher.
right.
And there was another Waterloo sister shop in Stony Brook, New York, Long Island, where I lived. And so I was most often at the Stony Brook shop when I was anywhere. But from time to time, I went to the shop in Roslyn.
Oh wow, I didn't realize that you were from Stony Brook. I live a stone throw away from Stony Brook right now.
Well, I was from Stony Brook at the time. I moved a lot. I mean,
Oh, okay.
I moved to Long Island to share an apartment with Jeff D. when we both left TSR. He to go to work at Fantasy Games Unlimited, and me because I had the scent of wanting to break into comics in me, and that was as close as I could afford to live to New York.
Yeah. And then I went to Stony Brook University for a year. So yeah, they had that big science fiction. They had Icon out there. It was a hopping scene for comic book and nerd stuff.
Yep. Yeah, they had a good convention there in Stony Brook. I went to Stony Brook University illegally. I liked the teacher of their life drawing class, and so I snuck into the class from time to time to just keep my skills up for drawing from life. And at one point, he approached me after class and said, "You're not actually in the class, are you?" And I go, "No, I am not." And am I banned? And he goes, "No, you draw pretty well, so you can stay, and you're not disruptive."
That's good. I did the same thing. I went to a European history class because my teacher was awful. So the next semester I went to the teacher that was really good, and I just sat in the class. I got the highest grade in the class, and at the end of the year, he goes, "You're not in this class." I said, I know. I just didn't feel that I got enough. And he goes, I finally got a kid that's interested and a good student, and he's not even in my class. So there you go. I wanted to bring this up. I make my own comics, and I make trading cards as stretch goals. This is one of the villains, and I talked to Scott Bizarre, and he gave me permission to use the V&V. What do you call badge, symbol, logo? And on the back of the card is character sheets from Villains Vigilantes. I mean, I still love this game. I know you're not one of the designers, but to me, you're one of the four. You, Scott, Jeff, and Jack, to me, are the four who made that game. You're like the Beatles of Villains Vigilantes.
Well, I guess that makes me Ringo because I replaced the other drummer along the way. Jeff and Jack created the game, and all glory should go to them. I just wrote a couple of adventures because when they re-released an updated version of Villains and Vigilantes, this would have been in 81, 82, something like that.
Yeah.
They wanted to include a couple of adventures in the box. So I wrote them for them.
Yeah. And then
not exactly a creator of V&V.
Yeah, I know, but you're 2003, so the rule book is 2000, and then the first adventure, I don't want to say module now either, was 2001, and then the second, I don't even know. Yeah, that was the most wanted. So you're there at the beginning. You're in single digits. You're in, and
Yeah.
the legend that I read about you is that you called Deluxe Comics and you did a pitch for a comic like on the way, and that was what they accepted. And the Elementals was just like, this is my idea to show off my art skills, and they made that comic.
Not Deluxe Comics. What happened was
Deluxe
I was living in New York, trying to break into mostly Marvel Comics. They were very enthusiastic about my drawing skills, but had no work for me. So I decided to start pitching my stuff to some of the independents as well. It was just the start of the independent movement, where Capital had just started doing Nexus. Pacific Comics had done a few things, and Noble Comics in Minnesota, Grand Rapids, Minnesota, did a book called Justice Machine. Well, I wasn't, for Marvel and DC, I drew sample pages specific to their characters, but I wasn't going to try and do that with every independent company that was popping up. So I decided to draw a few generic pages of superhero stuff to show that I can draw, and sent those to everyone. The generic pages I drew were 6 pages of a group I called the Elementals. I just come off of TSR, so during my year at TSR, I thought, yeah, elemental characters would make a good theme for a superhero group. John Byrne beat me to it because he described the Fantastic Four as basically the 4 elements, where Reed Richards is water, Sue Storm is air, obviously the Torch is fire, and Ben Grimm is earth. So I can't really take full creative credit. But I sent these out, and Mike Gusevich from Noble Comics gave me a call and says, come out here and work for us. So I got on a bus, went out there to work for him. I asked him, when he picked me up from the bus station, what I would be working on. And he looked rather confused. He said, well, you're going to work on this comic book you pitched us, the Elementals. And that's when I realized, oh, they weren't just samples. They were treated as a pitch, an idea. So, not willing to admit that I goofed, I said, well, yeah, of course. I meant I'll work on that. But I was wondering, is there anything else in addition to that? Anyway, that's how Elementals got started as a book, accidentally.
Yeah, and I got to say that is, I think, the most influential comic book for its I guess short run. We should say, because you were doing like dark and gritty, grim and gritty before anybody else. Like I loved how you walked that line of realism and superheroes. Like the one line that always got me was Tommy Kazurka of Monolith, the Rock character. They were talking to him and they said, what do we do with all these supervillains once we defeat them? And he goes, we kill them. We can't just have them keep breaking out of jail, And I was like, this is different. That was shocking in the early 80s.
Yeah. At the time, I did not understand that I was one of the early pioneers of grim and gritty superheroes, because I wasn't trying to do that. I was just trying to do, here's a superhero team, and I'm going to do a different take on them than others, because why don't you do your own unique take on something. That's about it. I added some things that I thought were practical to the genre. Had I known that it would start a deal where all superheroes became grim and gritty after a while, and we're still kind of caught in that morass, I might have not been so. For the record, though, Tommy was offered the idea of why not just kill him as a talking point, meaning to provoke. So it was during a meeting where they're trying to decide what is our long-term way of dealing with a world full of supervillains, and he offered that to sort of break through the politeness and hesitation of such meetings and get everyone down to the nitty gritty.
Right. Yeah. They never actually killed the supervillains. I just wanted to stress that, but it was not one of the things that they were discussing. It was a very logical response to, like you said, what's the word? Not a filibuster, but like a round table of ideas. But you did that a lot. Like another Tommy Kazurka quote, he was my favorite in case you couldn't tell, was he was a child, but he was a genius. And they always would ask him, like, what should we do? And he goes, I don't know. Just because I'm a genius doesn't mean I have everything memorized. It means I can figure things out over time, to paraphrase.
Well, there are smart kids, and I wrote Tommy as one, but still kids. So they may have intelligence. They don't necessarily have wisdom. Wisdom has to be accrued over time. So yeah, from time to time, Tommy would not be the best guide in any situation.
Yeah. And I don't want to spoil it for those of you. Please, check it out yourself. But Shapeshifter has gotten the most diabolical revenge on Morningstar I've ever seen in any comic books. It's yet to be topped as how long and I just thought that was just. I don't want to say shocking. That's too over, but it was just, oh my God. The Elementals was different. And unfortunately, Comico went the way it went, because I could have seen that becoming a bigger, more legendary series than it is.
Yeah. It was a product of its time. The Shapeshifter sort of diabolical plan could only happen in a series in which one person controlled the story.
Absolutely.
I have since tried to plant long-range plots in like DC books that I wrote for, and they always failed because there was always someone on the outside, the people that actually own the characters, resetting things and saying, you got to do this and change this and change this and all this. For example, when I was writing Robin, and over a long period of time, I was going to have Robin's dad, his dad was still alive at the time, find out that he's Robin, discover it and freak out. And just like, you can't endanger my kid this way. But I was going to spend my time, he wasn't a detective or anything. So he just, over a long period of time, put the clues together. And then someone came along and said, well, his dad's going to die soon, because every department has to offer up a corpse to one of these big mega crossovers we're doing. And we've decided his dad is useless, so we're killing him. And I said, but no, I have this long-range plan that you guys approved. They go, yeah, well, you can still do the story, just do it quicker. So instead of over many, many issues, I had him figure it out in one issue by discovering the secret closet with the Robin costume, which is not entirely a cheat, but not the most. You'd think the boy would be more clever than to have a secret closet in the back of his closet. So I was excoriated for that. But I did learn that you cannot make long range plans when they're not your characters. So yeah, I got away with it with Elementals because I control it. I did quite a few long range story arcs in Fables when I eventually did that because I controlled it. But yeah, when I wrote in other people's sandboxes, I could not do that, and it was frustrating because I'm happier with the long process form of storytelling. So anyway, for what it's worth,
I think that's one of the faults of modern mainstream comics is that they don't allow a writer or artist or a team to have a run like they used to. I mean, I keep bringing up the Chris Claremont X-Men. There was long-term plots that were resolved over years, and it was fun and rewarding. But now, Marvel DC seems like they switch up the teams every couple of months, and it changes
because they're failing, but they all have someone in charge of not failing anymore. During my run, it was usually Dan DiDio. And as he explained it, and he's right, is that DC, in his case, is a massive ship. You cannot turn it on a dime. You cannot turn it quickly. You have to make changes. And he kept trying to turn it quickly. He kept trying to, well, this isn't working. This isn't building up an audience big enough. So let's change some stuff. When also on Robin, when not Dick Grayson, who was Tim Drake quit being Robin at his dad's insistence. I put in a spoiler as a female Robin for a time. At first they said, no, you can't do that. Because we've got plans where she's going to die, and she can't be Robin when she dies because the one thing we can never do is have another Robin die. The powers above them decreed that. No more killing Robins. So we compromised and said, what if I get her out of the Robin costume before you kill her off? But you shouldn't kill her off, I said. But they had the plans locked in. So we had her be Robin for a while. Sales took off. They got quite a bump. And so I went back to them and said, look, this is succeeding exactly the way you guys want it to. You're desperate to get sales up. Let's keep her in the position for a while and ride this horse for a bit. And they go, no, we've already planned it. She's going to die in this crossover. So get her out of the costume so we can kill her. A little bit frustrating. But yes, you cannot make plans with other people's characters, which is, it's good that that's the case. I mean, the fact that people who don't own characters can't control characters is a good thing generally.
Right. But
you cannot keep the owners from making bad decisions with their property either. So, the best solution is to make your own properties so that you can make your own mistakes.
Right. I have your Robin run. I forget, was that under Denny O'Neil? Was he the editor?
No, it was Bob Schreck, Matt Idelson were the Bat office people. And had a few assistant editors as part of the. They edited the whole Bat group as kind of one.
I'm getting my timeline because Denny O'Neil used to say that, like, we bend these characters, but we don't break them, and we put them back for other people. Like when you have a good custodian for these characters, because some of the writers, that's why I quit Marvel, is they had no respect for some of these characters, and I'm like, I'm out. Jack and Stan wouldn't approve of this, or. So
Well, the problem is that the old guard left or died off, unfortunately, who knew these characters, and then they were slowly replaced by people who did not understand their own characters. They owned them in the sense of the people running DC were the custodians of DC's intellectual property, but they didn't know their own characters. When the movie The Dark Knight was so successful, someone at DC, I'm not going to name names only because I don't quite recall who officially said it, but they came out with a statement, an official statement from DC that, at last we understand how to do our characters. So when we do Superman, we're going to make him dark. And my response was, of course, no, you don't understand the characters. Batman is dark. You can do Batman dark. I would contest that he's not psychotic the way so many of the Bat writers write him, but he is dark. Superman is not. Superman is the light. Superman is the guy in the sunshine. Literally now, since they decided the sun powered his powers, but you don't do him dark. In response, I sat down. I realized, oh God, you fools! You don't even know the characters. So I wrote a huge essay, almost book length, of each character. This, if you want to understand the character, this is the wisdom, the joy, the understanding behind each and every one of your characters. So here's how you do it. Just a guide, how to do this character, then how to do this one, then how to do this one. And I didn't offer it to him. I may allow it to be seen when I'm dead, but it was too angry a screed to submit it. Plus, there were too many examples of my submitting ideas for this. I'd wanted to revamp Aquaman for years, and frustrated at every time just by the timing. Every time I dusted off a pitch and tried to represent it, they just hired someone else to redo the character. Happened with Wonder Woman a few times too. So I got frustrated. It's like, they're not going to listen anyway. Why waste
so
the effort?
Do you have any interest in other people's IPs anymore? Like if Marvel or DC came calling, would you be interested?
Not too much, and here's why. It's not a tantrum in the sense of, well, you didn't listen to me when you had the chance, so I'm not going to play in your sandbox anymore. It's more of all of these characters, both Marvel and DC, have moved on so far from what they used to be that for the most part, I don't even know the characters anymore. I don't know the relationships. I know apparently Magneto's a good guy now, and so's half of the other X-Men villains. And there's dozens, perhaps hundreds of new characters I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
So I couldn't play in that sandbox anymore. And it's best, in my declining years, that if I'm going to do stuff in the comics field, I should do my own stuff in the comics field.
I mean, I love when you write mainstream stuff, because I do love those characters. I love your writing, and you do have like a logic to it. Like you just have the characters say it's like, that's a logical way to respond to this, rather than a fantastical way. And you know, I feel bad that that led to grim and gritty, but I thought it was not grim and gritty. I just said that because that's the cool topic. That's the cool way to. But what you did was a logical expression of this world didn't have supervillains in it, and then the Shadow Spear incident, and now there's supervillains and superheroes. The world's not equipped to deal with lightning throwing, hammer wielding maniacs. So you
Right.
put a logical response to it. That's not grim and gritty. Is just grinding your face in it and getting like as much as I like The Watchmen, I thought it was one and done. And I love Frank Miller, but what works for that doesn't work for Captain America, Spider-Man, Batman, and so I'm with you. I think it got too dark and too grim and gritty. But I apologize for using that term. I didn't mean to. But what you did was logical and realistic. That's not grim and gritty. I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, I don't know that realism is something you want to try to apply to superheroes.
True,
but
true.
I tried to make some practical decisions. But it's just a matter, every writer who comes along should have a point of view that they convey through the stories they tell. If not, the more every writer tries to adhere to being like every other, then why do we need more than one writer?
Right.
Yeah. So I just tried to bring a different point of view to it.
Like what a perfect example of what I love about your writing is the logic and like, okay, this I'm going to apply real logic to a fantastical situation in Fables when they decided to go after the adversary, the bad guy. I don't want to spoil who the bad guy is in case people didn't read it. And you had Bigby Wolf, one of my favorite characters in all of literature. What a great character. But they take flying carpets and they make basically bombers out of them and everything. Like they made it like an industrial military complex out of cool magic thing. And even more than that was they explained why the Fables hid on Earth, because they feared the military. And you said, and I explained this to my DM friends and they got mad at me, my Dungeons & Dragons friends. You said that the average soldier could be trained to use automatic weapons and RPGs and tanks going after wizards who take years to cast a fireball. It's no contest. And that upset my Dungeons & Dragons friends so much. But to me, it made a lot of sense. Science, I think, would be easier to manipulate and work with than an arcane magic system. That was so much fun. I love that series.
Yeah, I was and continue to be influenced by the works of Roger Zelazny, one of my favorite writers. I urge anyone who's watching this to check out some of Roger Zelazny's works. He's dead now, so Roger will not be producing anymore. But his run on, he did a series called Nine Princes of in Amber, which ran for several volumes. Did a couple of standalones like Creatures of Light and Darkness and Lord of Light. Just terrific stuff. And the theme, if there is one running through his work, is he wrote about practical people in fantastical situations. All of its people inhabited these fantastical, wondrous, miraculous worlds, but ultimately his protagonists were practical guys who worked out how to navigate their problems in understandable ways. Maybe not realistic because, it's a magical world, but understandable. It's like you could say, yes, the human mind does work that way. Plus, for them, it's the world they live in. I mean, we live in a wondrous world, but unless you're a blithering idiot, you're not spending all your time wandering around in a daze going, oh my God, the wonders in this world, the wonders. Um, you live in it, you inhabit your world, and your worries are, what am I going to have for lunch? Not, how is this so miraculous a thing that we inhabit? So I tried to bring some of that into my writing, with fables, with the elementals, a few other things. Didn't always work. Going back to Robin, I always wanted to do a story about, a kid learning the superhero business. And I tried to turn Robin into that, but apparently it had been established before I came along that Tim Drake was so perfect that he already knew everything he needed to know about the superhero business. And many of the fans just hated my take on it. Like, he doesn't need to learn how to do this. He knows how to do this. As a matter of fact, one of the storylines that I had for Robin that were rejected was when Batman and Robin were working out. They were about to invade a building in which they realize a kidnapped girl is being held. And so Bruce Wayne, being Bruce Wayne, he built an entire reconstruction of this building so they could train and practice and plan for every contingency. And the editor, I want to say Greg Wright. There's a lot of people named Wright at the time. But anyway, the editor at the time said, well, you can't do that. And I go, why? Because Batman doesn't need to train. He's Batman. He already knows how to do all that stuff. Maybe I can get permission to allow you to have Robin run through and train, but not Batman. And I go, well, that's insane. That's when you're the best. I mean, do you think, like, Itzhak Perlman never practices the violin? I think he played the violin because he's already the best in the world. So
Right.
Therefore I don't need to practice. No. If you're the best in the world, to keep that status, you need to practice and train more than, I mean, all the special forces in the world, they train and train and train and train and train and train.
Constantly, yeah.
1,000 minutes of practice for every minute of actual battlefield execution.
And look at Rocky.
Anyway,
the best parts of Rocky is watching him
Yeah.
train, watching him get better. What would Rocky be without training?
see, that's what I should have done. I should have offered them, well, what if I do it as a montage? Because you can do anything in a montage. Yeah, that's when I realized that there was just no meeting of the minds between me and the people currently running the characters that I was involved with.
Yeah, it then you get Ray from the new Star Wars movies, who's already perfect at everything, and it's dull. I mean, didn't we like Peter Parker because he kind of messed up a lot, and
Yeah,
fumbled the ball?
Yeah.
That's what made Peter Parker probably the best superhero.
well, the era in which he was learning the business where it was indeed the most fascinating,
Yeah.
the most engaging issues of that character.
So I would be remiss if I didn't say my wife is not a comic book person, but she loved Fables, and I would read it, and then I would give the comic to her, and she would read it. So she's excited that you're here. She was part of your forum that you had. Remember forums? I thought they were fun, and she had the greatest Comic Con experience due to Buckingham. Why can't I remember his first name? The artist,
Mark Buckingham.
Yeah, Mark Buckingham. We were online to get an issue of Fables autographed, and we waited on this line for 40 minutes, and then the girl just doing her job. She just put her hand down right in front of my wife and I and said, "Line's over." I was like, "But we waited for 40 minutes," and the look of disappointment. I knew my wife was never gonna go to a Comic-Con with me again, and then I just said, "Hey, Mark, my wife is on the Bill Willingham site. I don't want to dox my wife, but her name was there." And he went, "Oh," and he called her behind the booth, and he was good. He signed everybody's things, and then he talked to my wife for 20 minutes, gave her art. So everybody involved in Fables just gave my wife something that she'll never forget. So I haven't spoke to Buckingham, so I gotta, if you ever talk to him, convey my thanks. But made her day, made a normie a fan.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear that. And Fables had a lot of good crossover with people that didn't normally read comics. So I feel that was a success.
Yeah, that is when people that aren't into comic books, that's one of them that I recommend for people to read. They're already familiar with the characters. I mean, it's fairy tale but you put your logical spin on. Again, I don't want to. It's hard to talk about because I don't want to spoil it. But like Bigby Wolf, what you did with Bigby Wolf was just so incredible. Bigby Wolf being the big bad wolf, and you made the greatest villain of all fairy tales the hero and best character in that series. I just love it.
Well, in each case with the fairy tale characters, I set a rule for myself that we don't deny the original story. We don't say, this didn't happen like this, it happened like this instead. There was a lot of wiggle room in that because, like with many of the big ones, like Red Riding Hood and such, there were multiple versions of each tale. So I was at least able to pick and choose the version I wanted. With Bigby Wolf, I knew I wanted to use the character more than once or twice. If he remained a villain, twice at the most, and then he's dead and gone. And I didn't want to not be able to use him. So I said, could we reform him in a way that is true to what he was in the original fairy tales? And I thought we did a pretty good job in the sense of justifying why he made an effort to become the good protector guy that he was in the series. But yeah, you didn't say that, the stuff everyone knows, you didn't say that never happened, because I felt that was a cheat.
Right. Yeah, to the point that he wasn't allowed on the farm because the three little pigs lived there.
Yeah, he is still paying a price for his bad youth. He's reformed, but not necessarily forgiven.
Right. Yeah. Forgive and not forget, kind of thing. And then you did my greatest, or what was it? The Greatest Adventure. I'm getting the title mixed up with all public domain characters. That is another interesting. So, you're using, I guess, established characters, but you're putting your unique spin where people can't control you and tell you what to do. I enjoy that very much.
Well, yeah. In that case, you're actually mixing up two things. I did a legendary, which is pulp versions, reimaginings of known characters, and they were not all public domain. Nikki and the boys at Dynamite Comics had to get a lot of permissions for some of the stuff I wanted to do. My favorite being that the $6 Million Man, back in the olden times, as a kind of mechanical man, he was the $600 man, and even then, people were flabbergasted that anyone could spend that much money on a single project like that. Um, but that was fun. And then with The Greatest Adventure, I
Yes,
was given the opportunity to use all the Edgar Rice Burroughs characters I wanted. And I said, well, I've got to do, I mean, rather than just pick and choose my favorite, why don't I just use all of them and come up with an adventure that requires them all jumping in a boat and going on a Jason and the Argonauts, a ship of heroes adventure. I don't know that I did the best job with it. I was so intimidated. Edgar Rice Burroughs is the top of my list of people that, well, taught me to read, in the sense of, didn't teach me the nuts and bolts of reading, but taught me that this is an actual enjoyable experience. So when I finally got my hands on as many of his characters as I wanted, and I grabbed them all, including The Girl from Hollywood, which was one of his lesser known books, I felt a little intimidated. There's one or two things I'm proud of. Tarzan's son, Korak, colloquially known as Korak the Killer. I gave Jane an interesting line at one point when she's on foot, separated from Tarzan, etc., etc. So Korak is leading the group, and Jane talks to one of the villainous guys that keeps trying to provoke Korak, and he says, you know, you keep provoking him like that, and sooner or later you're going to learn why his name is Korak the Killer. Some version of that. I think I did it better in the script, but anyway, there were some nice moments, but yeah, overall, I think I'd need about 30 or 40 more issues to really do it up right.
yeah.
I bit off too big an adventure.
Do you have any upcoming projects? Are you bringing on any more comics? Or are you? Because I know you write novels also.
All right. Well, this is a good time for a commercial break, and I'm going to pitch a couple of things to the readers right now. If I can get the larger screen back.
Sure, you got that. There you go.
I am writing novels. They're published by Mount Pelion, so that's why if you follow the link that he's going to show you again in just a minute, you could go there. The 5 books that are available now that more or less take place in the same fictional universe, blame Edgar Rice Burroughs for that, is Hammer of the Gods. I guess that's broadcasting a mirror image, but anyway, Hammer of the Gods, the complete Beowulf stories so far, parenthetically. I'm going to do more. The Remarkable Mr. Finn, a crime-solving detective chimp, but bears no relationship to any DC character that happens to be named Detective Chimp. Just Another Ranker, a modern rifle company in a medieval fantasy world with elves and giants and dragons and trolls and such.
God, that sounds awesome.
And Super Team, which is kind of a sequel to Hammer of the Gods, wherein many of the characters introduced in that novel get together and say, hey, let's form a team and do good. Those are the 5 that are out now. You can buy them on Amazon. You can buy them on Kindle. Or you can go to my store, which we are apparently showing now, yes, and get signed versions. Same price, might be a slightly higher mailing cost, but no additional price for the signature. that's what I'm doing now. I'm writing a lot of prose work. I don't have a copy to show you guys, but I'm doing a semi-regular book called Lark's Killer. We came out with individual issues for a while. They didn't sell very well. So now we're doing collected editions, and they will be out in abundance. But I am 6 maybe collections ahead of what we've done so far with individual issues. So it's a pretty big, robust series. It is once again another fish out of water story where a young girl who's a street rat in LA who gets by on petty theft and stuff like that ends up in a way she doesn't understand suddenly in a magical medieval world of sorcerers and, you know, knights and villains. But everyone's trying to kill her, and she's trying to figure out why before she dies, you know, or try and prevent them. It's a pretty nice book, and you will be seeing a lot of it, I hope, soon.
Yeah.
And then there's some other projects that I daren't not mention yet.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Ever since I tried to retire, I've never been busier. So I'm never going to try and retire again because it's too much work.
It's too much work to retire. Well, just so you know, I'm one of the people that bought Lark's Killer, and I'm glad to see that it's still coming back.
Oh,
is all of the stuff available on the site?
Put the big screen up again. My friend just handed me a couple of.
Your big screen. There you go.
Yeah. This is one of the collections, and this is another of the collections. Pretty thick, and together you get a pretty large complete story. But there's many more to come. There's like I said, half a dozen more to follow these. The publisher
froze.
Pardon me. I'm sorry. What?
I think. Can you see me? Can you see Bill?
Yeah.
Can anybody say something in the comments? Is there a problem?
No. Why are we not?
We'll bring up his website, and we'll talk about that until Bill comes back.
I'm here. Are you not seeing me?
I'm good. Okay, people can see me. Okay, so I'm going to bring up Bill's site. Oh, Bill's back. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I never left.
I don't know if you froze or if I froze for a second, but I put up your site. Okay. Everybody looks good. Okay. I see Bill. Good.
In any case, lots of Lark's Killer. And those will be available soon from First Comics. If they're not already, I'm not sure if they have been made available. I never know when anything I do is coming out because that's not the part, the half of the publication business I'm involved in.
The novels that you showed, is there a reading order? Is there? Those novels that you just showed?
They're all standalone novels. Okay. I would suggest reading Hammer of the Gods before Super Team. Okay. But you don't need to. It's just some events will make a little more sense. Everything else is standalone. They exist in the same universe, but they're having their own adventures. And we're making more.
Oh, good. Now, you had a falling out with DC over the way they treated you over the Fables revival. Is this anything you care to talk about? I don't want to pull scabs or anything like that.
Well, the thing about a company like DC, for example, is a company is not a person. The people whom I respected and trusted, who brought me back for the Fables revival, like, and it wasn't really a revival. It was a reprise, as in the 20th anniversary of Fables is coming up. Let's do something nice for it. So I agreed to do another 12 issue arc. Those people, like Dan DiDio, for example, well, they were shown the door while I've already committed to the project and it was underway. And the new people that came in didn't know the material, didn't know me, didn't really care, but they had a contract. They had a signed contract, so they had to, I guess we have to do this. But I didn't get along well with them, because you don't make deals with companies, you make deals with people, and hopefully people you can trust. And when those people go, and in this case, DC did a pretty thorough house cleaning of, maybe they looked for anyone who had a soul. I don't know what criteria they brought to bear, but they got rid of people in vast numbers and left me dealing with strangers, people whom I'd never met. And because of the whole COVID fiasco, everyone working at home, they were all working with people they'd never met. I mean, the people that they would normally work with in an office when they went to offices, they were hired and worked without knowing a single other person face to face in the company. It was not a good way to run a circus, and but that's fine. We did the 12 issues. That was my commitment, and I was done. The falling out with DC is because they cheated and continue to cheat me out of my share of media tie-in things like A Wolf Among Us, the game based on Fables. Their stance is that they don't owe me anything because they don't want to. And my response to them was, fine, I own the property, so I'll just make it public domain. Now everyone owns Fables. And that's still in force. I know DC came out with a half-assed statement, not made to me, but to someone, when I announced that Fables is now in the public domain, and said, oh, it's not, we own it. And I can prove that they don't. They're lying. They're lying and attempting to thieve. But it's not true. Fables is in public domain. The sole owner of the property has decreed it, and there's no takebacks. The interesting thing is that statement, which they didn't make to me, they made to a third party, is the only thing they've ever said about it. The problem with going against a kind of mega company like DC, part of Time Warner, part of, well, who knows who the owner of the moment is, but is that the is it or is it not public domain won't really be settled until someone challenges it, tests it. Now, I can't afford to take DC to court, and no one else can. And I wouldn't mind if DC sued me, because I think I could do it on the cheap, and at least get a few good punches in before they crush me like a bug.
Right.
We'll see. But
Right. Like all these people put Mickey Mouse in their comics and stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, it's public domain, but why risk getting
we'll
sued
still
by?
try and crush you.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. You might have it
It's
right, but they got the lawyers, and that.
yeah. Well, it's thuggery. It's thuggery at work as a business practice, and it is one of the dark aspects of capitalism. I am pro-capitalist. It's the worst financial system in the world, except for every other kind.
Yep.
So it's what we've got. But yeah, thugs are going to thug. So we'll see how that goes. The upshot, of course, is that DC's never spoken to me since then. Not once. No one at DC has spoken to me, sent an email, anything. My royalties show up more or less on time for past work. I'll never do more work for them. But their policy seems to be no contact whatsoever. I was mildly surprised because I wrote the initial run on Salvation Run, which is now being integrated into the Peacemaker TV series.
Right. Yeah.
That at the end of the final episode of this season, they included my name in the list of everyone we thank. I'm surprised they did that, considering I don't think they like me very much at the moment, and that's because, of course, if I hadn't made it clear, it's because they're thugs. But yeah, they included that, but they didn't. This is intriguing to me. Salvation Run happened because George R.R. Martin, you may have heard of that fellow. He wrote a thing or two, might be pretty popular someday. But he, big comics fan, and he submitted a story idea to DC, just unsolicited. It's like, here's an idea for a story. I forget what he called it, but it was basically Salvation Run. The idea of, let's trap all the supervillains on another planet, and that way we've solved our supervillain crisis. And then, of course, it goes horribly wrong.
Right.
And they decided not to go with his version. And there was some kind of problem between him and them. DC decided to go ahead and do the series, but without crediting him and without, I don't know if they paid it. I have no idea if they reached an agreement behind the scenes. But they didn't include his name in the thank you for all the work he did. And he came up with the idea. The project landed in my lap. I have no idea how many people turned him down before I was foolish enough not to. It landed in my lap, and of course, if you're going to be the first writer on something, regardless of who pitched the idea, you're going to do a lot of creative work in addition to. So yes, it was proper that they thank me for what work I'd done in getting Salvation Run going. But it was not appropriate that they didn't thank him. So that's a mystery that I wonder about. I had a long conversation with George Martin when the DO asked me if I would write this. And I couldn't say yes without first talking to George, who's it was his story, his idea. And I believe certain things were discussed in that conversation that I should not reveal. It was kind of a private airing of maybe frustration, maybe whatever. So I won't. But yeah, how petty is it that you leave his name off? Then again, maybe he requested that his name be left off, because
We
that's
don't know.
something you occasionally do when you're unhappy with certain publishers and producers. Maybe he is in that list. There's a few names in that list that I don't recognize. Maybe he used a pseudonym because he didn't want to be publicly associated with it. Who knows? But they should have thanked him.
I have to ask this. I hope I'm not, again, picking scabs, but Elementals was such a important comic to me, and then the Comico went to, to be gracious, unfortunate business practices, and then
they were a brand new company, and they were basically a bunch of kids learning to be a business at the same time I was learning to be a professional artist and writer. There were lots of flubs along the way, but go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know what's true and what's not true. I heard organized crime got involved and deals that shouldn't have been made, but the long story is there's no hope for it. I mean, the short question I'm asking is, there's no hope for an Elementals return?
Not from me. Once again, I suspect, I don't have the right to say this as an emphatic absolute the way I do with Fables, but I suspect Elementals may be in the public domain simply because Andrew Rev, the purported owner, in the how many years since that's been at 30 years, maybe? Yeah. I don't know. He's never protected the property. He's let the trademark lapse and be bought out by other people. He's let characters named Vortex, Monolith, Fathom, and
Morningstar,
thank you, exist without protecting it. He's let the Ratman character be used in a different video with a different character. All of that should have been protected if you're going to own a property. So there was a case involving, I believe it was some company started doing a book, a superhero book called The Champions, and Marvel objected and tried to sue them, and it went to court. And don't hold me to this because memory is faulty and I'm an old fart, but I believe the judge made a little speech that's like, Marvel, you did everything you possibly could to throw this into the public domain without actually saying it's in the public domain. So, you lose. So there is at least some tenuous possibility that the Elementals is available for anyone who does it. Now, I said this again in some other podcast, and a fellow whose name I'm spacing, he picked up the baton and said, okay, I'm going to do an Elementals thing. And there's a thing out right now, an appreciation of the Elementals series. I did not participate in it, and I told him, I'm not sure it's in the public domain. It's my opinion, but I'm no copyright lawyer. So you take your chances. And he said, fuck it. I got no money. They could sue me and win nothing. So he did it. So that's
project that was just on Kickstarter?
It was on Kickstarter. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I'm mad because I didn't back it because I thought something shady was going on. So now that I know it has your blessing, I'm mad that I didn't back it.
Yeah, the shady is that would Rev object? He didn't. I don't know if he even knew about it. But Rev is one of those fellows that threatens to sue everyone and never sues anyone. So he's kind of a paper tiger, a very inept paper tiger. I assume that there are paper tigers out there that at least have a skill set and such, but not him. In any case, he seems to have done just fine putting this on.
Okay. All right.
If someone decides to do a series called The Elemental, this is one of the predicates that may work in their favor, is that hey, these guys did it and you didn't do anything. I suspect Rev and his cohorts are incapable of mounting any kind of protection. The guy cannot manage. I was going to say something vulgar. He doesn't manage anything well. So,
and it's a shame because Komiko really was such an influential, important comic book. Like it had Mage, it had Grendel, Komiko, Justice Machine.
For a while, they made a few blunders.
Yeah,
a couple of them were big.
What a shame. It's like it's like fumbling the ball with the football.
Yeah, they had a good run. Well, long after the newsstand market was dead, they decided to get into it and lost a bundle. I think somewhere around $500,000, maybe more, on an attempt to do newsstand distribution. It was a blunder. They did it. The people running Kamiko, that's how they like to pronounce it, Kamiko.
Oh, Kamiko. Okay, I've been saying it for 40 years.
Yeah, they should have consulted some of us that actually knew something about how the comic industry had changed. But anyway, they lost their shirt and then decided the problem, the nail in the coffin for Kamiko is that to bail themselves out of one blunder after another, they brought in a fifth partner who was Andrew Rev to pump up the company with a cash influx. And that's how they presented it to us. What they didn't tell us is that no, he was not coming in as a fifth partner. He was buying them out for pennies on the dollar. And there was a little hanky-panky in the way that Kamiko was sold out from under us.
Yeah, what a shame! What a shame.
Well,
all right,
businessmen are gonna make mistakes.
I know. I pronounced it wrong for many years. Yeah, I'm not the only one. Good. I've been saying Mark Miller's name wrong for years. I've been saying Komiko wrong for years. So I have
also
to
for the record, Tommy Zucra's name is pronounced Zucra. You ignore the I think it's Polish or Lithuanian or something like that. One of my friends and partners in the military police in the Army was named Joe Zucra. We had many adventures, many misadventures together. So Tommy's named after him, but it's spelled not like it sounds. Zucra. Z-O-O Kra. Anyway.
Oh, that's funny. I've been saying that name wrong for years too. Jeez.
Everything else you've been doing just fine.
Okay, so I got everything besides everything I've been getting wrong. I've been doing right.
All right.
So I have to leave for work. I got an hour commute to the airport. So I have to wind anything. Is there anything that you want to bring up that I didn't because I ramble on too much? Anything you need to say, want to say?
No. I've mostly enjoyed my career. I'm going to keep doing it, more or less. For those of you that are in some kind of creative endeavor that try and retire don't do it, or they'll work you to death. Yeah, and please check out the store for art and books and some things that you may not be aware of. Actually, I've also got a sketchbook for sale in the store there, just as a response to those people who constantly ask me, why don't you draw anymore? I continue to draw. It just doesn't always come out in a venue that is high profile enough for you to find it. Anyway, if you want my drawings, get a sketchbook. If you want the original art, get that. If you want the novels, get those. And I'll keep plugging away. Thank you very much for
thank you. This is
hosting me today.
On. Thank you for coming on. This is a dream come true. Like I said, you're one of my most influential people in not just comics in my life. Like, if you have no concept of how much Villains Vigilantes is a big deal in my life, and through that my comic book sprang out of my adventures. You know, I must have read this, I drawn this. Like, I tried to ape your style of art. You're one of my favorite artists. You know, it's so good to see that you still draw, because I try to get like, I'm a fanboy. I get anything you make. So when I find out that there's stuff that you made that I didn't know about, I'm excited. I'm like, yes. You know, so I can gush now. This is me gushing.
Oh, great.
I'm just a fan. I'm so pleased that you came on. You know, I'm glad to hear from your mouth what actually happened. You know, because I was under the impression people like, don't ask him about the elementals. He's going to get mad at you. And I was like, how can I not ask?
No.
Oh, good.
No, you didn't even approach all the really embarrassing things that happened with me, and I don't get mad about people bringing that up either. So,
there's so much.
Fine.
Like, I could have. I wanted to talk about a Shadow Pact, another series that I absolutely loved. You know, there was so much good stuff that you've done. You know, yeah, and it's a shame that DC treats its creators the way it does.
We can, yeah. Well, DC itself, remember, DC doesn't actually exist. The new people that have come along are not treating people very well right now. Past people have. Paul Levitz, who ran DC for most of the time I've been associated with him. He was a fine fellow, and he could be reasoned with. And not in a Godfather sort of way, not take him in the back and put a gun to his head until he agrees to do what I want, reason, but actual reason. Jeanette Kahn, who used to run DC, just lovely woman, and just a terrific person. The terrific people are gone, unfortunately. Maybe because companies will survive like cockroaches no matter what. Maybe better people will come along again, but who can say? Yeah,
we can hope. Yeah, but thank you. I have to leave for work. I could talk to you for another hour, but nobody wants to see me stemming and being starstruck for an hour. But thank you so much. I would love to talk to you again sometime in the future, and I'm so excited to buy all these books. I can't believe I missed these novels. I didn't know. I'll be buying them tonight when I come home. Thank you so much.
All right.
Check out this. I'll put your website up, and I'm going to do the closing music. And thank you, everybody.
All right. Well, thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for coming. This is so good. This is what my channel is for. Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.
You're more than welcome. Bye.
Bye.